This week on campus, Canada, and in the clubhouse at York University, University of Ottawa, and at McGill, are students' unions fueling anti-Semitism on campus? Is CUPE used to defend workers, or is it now defending extremism? And is Canada tearing apart because of this? Are the Liberals lost? Is Pierre rising, and is Gumby wanting your vote? Plus, Vladdy's extension, Bo's future on the team, and why Tyler Heineman might be the guy for the Blue Jays, even with Alejandro Kirk. Let's get into it, Noah. Starting with our first topic of anti-Semitism and students' unions. So I know you're very passionate about this issue of the students' unions at York and at Ottawa, particularly Ottawa, because that's where you're at. So I'll let you start with it.
Okay, so where to begin? Basically, since October 7th, last year, 2023, October 7th, we've seen the University of Ottawa Students' Union consistently take the side of the pro-Palestinians, and not only that, they have also refused to ignore the suffering and the trauma that Jewish students like me are going through, especially with the rising anti-Semitism following the October 7th attacks. And I'm actually going to bring up something that has happened to a friend to put this into context. So a friend of mine, she's not Jewish, she was running a tabling, and not a partisan tabling. It's not tailored to either side of the spectrum, but she was running a tabling, and it was basically just advocating for the hostages to be returned and to be released from Hamas's captivity. And she was running it with a friend, and this was all happening with like a culture week event, and the advocacy commissioner, if I remember correctly, she basically went up to them and said, "You can't be running this today. We have a event going on. We need you to take this tabling down." And at the same time, she was leaving clubs with pro-Palestinian followings and pro-Palestinian clubs themselves. She was letting them keep displays up that advocated for the destruction of Israel, and they basically pointed out that if you're going to let them, with that rhetoric, you're going to let them keep their displays up, why are you making us take ours down? If you really want us to, we can get security, but why are you making us take ours down? Like, that's not really fair. And when I heard that story, it just goes to show that Jewish voices and pro-Israel voices aren't really heard on campus anymore. And not only that, we're seeing them deliberately silenced by student unions, like the University of Ottawa Students' Union. And it's just shocking, and we'll probably get into this more with
exactly. And at York University, it's the exact same issue. I remember back in September of this year, so a while back now, we had a similar culture week, and we had a mob of those pro-Palestinian students coming up to our table, mobbing us, and they tried to get us kicked out because people from our club went to their tables wearing their Israeli flags as capes, which is what we all do. I also had coffee thrown at my table on October 7th of 2024, so only a month after that. And it's absolutely pathetic. These universities are being destroyed. These universities are becoming extremely unsafe for Jewish students. Jewish students are no longer safe at all on university campuses. Look at what's happening at University of Ottawa, McGill, York University, UFT, TMU, UBC, all the universities, you name it. Every single university in Canada is rife with this anti-Semitic violence. And at my school, York University, Somar Abu Aziz is the York University president. This is a CUPE union that represents all 50,000 students at York University. is represented by a massive anti-Semite who hates Israel, who posted celebrating the life of Yahya Sinwar, and she was crying when he died. She posted about that on her Instagram. Why is she allowed in this country? Why is she a student at the largest university in Canada? Please tell me this, Rhonda Lenton, Mark Carney. Please tell me why she's allowed in this country. I'll pass it back off to you, Noah.
You make a absolutely valid point there, and again, both of our cases just go to show that there is vile anti-Semitism that is occurring on campuses, and there needs to be real concrete action across the country and universities across the country to dispel it for good.
Exactly. And let's get into the recent decision that I know you were very aware of at McGill University with their student union. I'll let you get into it to describe it to the audience.
So on Monday, the McGill University issued an announcement that stated that they had terminated their Memorandum of Agreement with the McGill Students' Union. I forget what the acronym is, but somebody can fill that in the comments. But basically, it was an agreement saying our relationship with the union is done. They have represented anti-Semitism on campus, and they've allowed it to happen. And we don't stand for that at McGill, which is why we are terminating our relationship.
And I wish that York University would do that and officially terminate their relationship with our students' union. YFS is what they're referred to as, or CUPE something number. I wish that Rhonda Lenton would do it, but they've made condemnations of them, but the universities are fucking lazy. And I'm so glad that they finally terminated their relationship with the union. And let's get into the bigger picture of, do you think that CUPE and other large public sector unions in the country are destroying the country, and should we band together to take down these large public sector unions like CUPE, who are led by people like Fred Kahn, who's an absolute con man, and with his hatred of the Jewish people?
I think we should, and not just CUPE, but there needs to be a serious talk about the role of unions in Canada. And you look at what happened at McGill, and I think that should be a message going forward, that universities really need to start looking into what their student unions are advocating for. Are they advocating on behalf of all students and with their stances? And if so, does their relationship need to be reviewed? And the same goes for Canadians with CUPE and other unions. Like, the fact that all of these unions are taking these stances is one thing. It's another thing if they're not representing all of their workers fairly, and that is clearly what we can see here with their decisions and their advocacy. And I really think that Canadians and workers and companies take a good hard look at what unions are representing workers, and they need to take a hard look about what they stand for to push for the appropriate reform.
Exactly, and not just on these issues of foreign policy or Jewish issues, but even if you look at an issue like the maintenance of our public parks. I'm a geography student, as many of you know. I study global geography at York University, and I'm finally graduating. Congrats to me. I'll be graduating by the end of the summer. Thank you. And I did a project about the G. Ross Lord Park, which is right next to my school. And I studied how invasive species are taking over the park. And after discussing with a lot of community groups, the problem isn't just the invasive species. It's these toxic unions that are controlling all the City of Toronto jobs that are taking care of the parks. Because they require that all of the workers in the parks and all the people that are allowed to cut down the invasive species and they all have to be union employed. They can't be a volunteer group cutting down invasive species. You can't have groups like that because they must be union employed. Union jobs matter, they say. It's all bullshit. These unions are bullshit. They they claim to advocate for the worker. What they do is they advocate for their executives. That's who's really benefiting from this. It's not the workers. It's Fred Kahn and all of his con man friends up at CUPE headquarters making probably $1 million salaries while acting as, oh, we're advocating for the common man worker. I'm for the worker. I'm Fred Kahn. I love doing my impressions. Guys, write down in the comment section who you want me to do an impression of in the next video. Do you have any last thoughts about Fred Kahn and CUPE, and you want to make fun of them at all?
You're absolutely right. And I just think that it doesn't matter if you're unionized or not. It should be a question of, can you do the job? Do you have the qualifications and experience for it or not? Like, it's the same with DEI. DEI has been a big failure because of this.
Exactly.
Sure, you can have diversity, but it needs to be diversity based that is
on merit.
On merit, absolutely.
Exactly. And these unions, our next point, are they actually representative of the students? Or are they just activists in echo chambers? Because, for example, at York, the unions, I have talked to many people who have actually worked their union elections. The elections are literally rigged. They'll switch names on ballots if one candidate wins over another. And literally, because everyone knows that at the school, no one really votes in the election. And the people who do vote, they're just stupid because there's no actual opposition candidate. It's all the people running with their party. One year it was Inspire YU, now it was some other name. It's all bullshit. Somer Abu Aziz controlling it. I worked with someone a couple summers ago who he actually ran with their union, with the union at my school for one of the student representatives for one of the colleges at my school, and I realized I was working with an actual big time anti-Semite. This guy, I forgot his name, and I probably shouldn't mention his name on here because he's a nice guy. He's in theater. He's now the student rep for the theater department. But they absolutely do not represent the students, and they're just echo chambers. What do you think about that?
I don't think they're just activists. They're slacktivists.
Exactly.
If you look at the requirements to work some of these student union jobs, not necessarily the executives, but also like the jobs, like it basically says one of the requirements, you have to be a part-time student, i.e. take 3 courses or less per term, which we have educations too. I get that this is a job too.
I heard some of them only take 1 course.
Like that. When I say slacktivist, that's what I mean. Not only are these jobs just like posting these information sources, which may be important in some cases. In other cases, they might just be pure anti-Semitic. But in other cases, just sitting around doing nothing and advocating
Exactly.
for these jobs, for these slacktivist positions.
Exactly.
It's an example of lefties losing it.
Exactly like that Sky News Australia host, Rita Panahy. I knew that's what you were talking about. I was actually just watching her show. She's such a great host, and she's an Iranian dissident too, which makes me like her even more. But let's get into the real matter of why these unions should be defunded, and that's the amount of funding that they're receiving and the high revenues that they're receiving from us. So the question is, should students have more of a say in where these union dues go, and what are they actually going to, all these union dues? Because I know at York University, a very significant portion of every course, because at York you pay by course. Uh, a very significant portion of that funding is going directly to the union. And what the hell are they doing for me to make my life better with that money? Building a couple new student centers on campus. Yeah, you already have two. You don't need to build more of them. Or you're just funding your own salaries. The executives on the student union at my school are making over $50,000 a year as students. Yeah, your face describes it exactly. That's. What are your thoughts?
That's honestly just sad. And on my end, what I pay my tuition every term, the amount of student union fees I have to pay to each term is over $140. And for the amount of students, and it's mandatory to pay too, for like 40,
Yeah.
50,000 students, that's got to be what? Almost a million? I probably overshooting the math here. But
Yeah, at York it's way over $1 million. I think it's like, I think the number is like around 12 million in revenue. I was reading their financial statements a while ago, but I forgot what the exact number is. Someone can write it in the comments below. But if you look on YFS's website, you'll see it. They're very transparent about it. Well, at least they claim to be. They're probably faking the numbers. Yes, we're living in Russia, so let's fudge the numbers. Let's say let's move the decimal over, move the comma over in the number. But it's absolutely ridiculous what these unions are doing. They're so screwing us over of our money. I wish I had the number of how much percentage from every course it is, but it is so ridiculous. And what are they even doing for me? I know that even if I want to get out of the non-mandatory payments that I have to make, I have to fill out a bunch of paper because they offer insurance that isn't even that good. Their insurance is shit. I went on it for a semester and I went back on my family's plan. But you have to like go through a whole process just to get out of paying it, and it's so ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like when I pay $140 for union fees every term, I actually want it to go to something good. I don't want it to go to a fifth office. They have four offices, my student union. They have one for international students, one for the international house. Honestly don't even know anymore. Another for the feminist resource center. And then office. That's four offices.
Yeah.
Four offices.
Yeah, don't even ask me how many offices the one at York has.
I think either somebody needs to be hiring a Doge person.
Exactly.
Or somebody really needs to be caring about these financial audits, because at the rate we're going with our services here at uOttawa and all the student union stuff they do, they pay themselves to have their own offices and to pay their own tuition. That's basically where my money is going at this rate. And why need four offices when you could just put it all in one?
Exactly.
Logic.
Why can't they be more physically responsible? Why do they need to hire so many people and have so many stupid programs that no one uses?
Loaded bureaucracy.
Exactly. Why don't we have Doge Canada or University Doge? Bring Elon Musk into Canada. I know all the Tesla haters are out there saying, burn the Tesla, burn the swastika, Tesla. The people protesting Tesla, I'm sorry if you're here, but I think you're protesting the wrong thing. Elon Musk isn't going to destroy the world. He's going to save the world.
I think all the people protesting Tesla in Canada, at least, they're either at the Tesla dealership or they're at the seniors' home.
Exactly. Yeah, that's all the people voting Liberal. They're all at the senior center. Yeah, let me get my dentures in. Gonna go protest Tesla right after I go get denture cream and Viagra from the from the pharmacy and digestive aids. That's what they're doing. After that, they're then going down to the Mark Carney rally with mainly media there, or as Wyatt, this guy Wyatt from the National Telegraph calls him Gumby. So I wrote him on the script. Gumby. But we'll get into the election very soon. Do you have any last points on the students' unions and anti-Semitism segment?
Honestly, at this rate, if my money is going to anything for this union, they might as well make They might as well make Minecraft movie memes to get all their point across.
Exactly.
That would be a better use of their money.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Yeah. Instead of funding transgender support groups, which is literally what I see my student union doing. They're funding different LGBT support groups for the students. Who the fuck is needing these support groups? The morbidly obese student that I saw yesterday when I was on campus. I really shouldn't be talking negative about other students. I feel really bad doing this. I've probably get a lot of views. Should we get into the election segment?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, everyone. So, as we all know, there's an election coming on April the 28th. April the 28th, make sure to get out there and vote. Let's try to get out the youth vote, show that our generation actually cares about our country. Because most of the other generations think that, oh, Zoomers don't care, they're stuck in their beds, playing video games, watching the Minecraft movie. We gotta show that we actually care. We want change. So get out there and vote on the 28th, or do what I did. Get a special ballot, because I'm going to be working as a registering officer this election. And I recommend, as I said in the last election, if you guys want to make some good money, go sign up with Elections Canada because they need workers. They need people to work these elections. I'll be working at the advanced polls here in my district, and we need people to work these elections. It's so important we get out there and vote. I know I said at the last election what I think voter turnout will be. I think that the Gen Z will get out there and vote. 80% turnout. Let's be like the Americans and let's get out there and vote. What are your opinions on these polls? Do you think they're starting to flip? And do you think how stupid and rigged do you think Ecos and Angus are?
There's a good few of them I've seen that are starting to flip. The Toronto Star, at least, that one has had big gains for the Conservatives over the past 2 or 3 days. Abacus has been quite good for the Conservatives
exactly
ever since the election started, and I think there might have been one other. We might have talked about this last time. I don't remember which one it is. But
Innovation Research is pretty good. I know Nanos is starting to flip a little bit, so I'm starting to believe them a little bit more. But I don't see how we're going to talk about rally sizes soon, but how can you have a rally of over 15,000 people, but currently losing in the polls? How is that even possible? How is it even possible? Our election is looking to be so rigged because all the media, they all want their money from Carney. Carney literally promised to increase the CBC's funding by over $100 million and make their funding permanent in our budget. So if you want to remove their funding, it has to go through a full vote in Parliament. That's so ridiculous. Who the hell even watches CBC? Noah, when's the last time you watched CBC?
The last Stanley Cup playoffs, because that's the only good thing they broadcast.
I don't remember the last time I watched it. I may have saw a couple clips on YouTube of CBC. Sometimes I watch clips of Rosemary Barden to laugh. These guys, if you ever want to laugh really hard, watch clips of Rosemary Barden. If you want to see a biased liberal journalist who pretends to be nonpartisan. Because the CBC, they're the national broadcaster, they're nonpartisan. Sure, yeah. Yeah, and my farts smell like fairy dust. Yeah. I've really been quite funny today. Yeah.
You've been hitting the humor.
Yeah, I've been hitting that humor button. Bang, bang, bang. Hit the humor button. Let's talk about the upcoming debates, which are on the 14th and 15th, I believe.
16th and 17th.
Oh, did it change? Oh, okay.
No, it's been those days.
Oh, so who do you think, or what are your thoughts going into the debate?
I think for the French one, we're going to be seeing Pierre and Yves-François Blanchet go very hard against Mark Carney because
Exactly.
Bloc Québécois, they always have a Québécois platform. They're the Bloc Québécois. And Pierre put out a really good conservative plan for Quebec that got the Premier's approval. And I think we're going to be seeing both of them, especially with their French, go really hard against Mark Carney. And I don't know about the Green leader guy, Pedno.
Yeah, I had no clue that the Greens even had a leadership election, or did Elizabeth May just handpick a leader for their cult? Because that's what the Green Party is. It's an absolute cult. But I absolutely agree with you. I think that at the Bloc and the Conservatives are probably going to dominate in the French debate. I forgot about how good or bad Jagrat Singh's French is, but he's currently looking like a disaster. We'll get into that later. I think that Pierre and Blanchette will definitely do really well in the French debate. I think in the English debate, I think that Carney will still get crushed because he literally has no backbone. He's a slithering snake that can't defend himself at all. So all the other leaders will jump on him. I think that Jagrat Singh will definitely go after him from the left, and Pierre will go after him from the right, and Blanchette will go after him from the French. Good way of putting it.
Yeah. And I think Jagmeet has to perform in these debates. Like, he absolutely has to. His party
is dead.
On it. Like,
they're already dead.
It's his last chance to bring voters back from the Liberals.
Yeah. And how do you think that the NDP, the people leaving from the NDP, how do you think that vote is going to split? Do you think that everyone is going to leave and vote Liberal, or do you think some of them are coming over to the Conservative side? Because I'm not sure.
We've been seeing a lot of unions endorse Conservatives, and
exactly.
It's rare to see unions endorse the Conservative Party, and I think that's part of the reason why maybe we'll see a few NDP voters flip to the Conservatives, but I think a good majority of them are going to look at the Liberals and see that there's more of a chance there. And I just don't understand. Like, the Liberals don't stand for what the NDP believe in. The NDP stand for the working man, and the Liberals stand for
Wall Street bankers and Bay Street bankers, and people like Gumby. Yeah, the China especially, like Mark Carney's friend Paul Chang. He literally defended Paul Chang on before April Fool's Day, and refused to withdraw his candidacy until on April Fool's, so we would all think it was a joke. Paul Chang decided to step away because the RCMP started to investigate him. which was actually good from the RCMP, even though that I don't trust them at all, and I hope that Pierre clears them out. I don't understand how liberals can even relate to this Wall Street banker. Are liberals the biggest suckers in the world? I don't get it. Like, I worry about them because are they just, whenever they get a call from someone in India, one of those scam callers, are they just saying, "Oh yes, I'm gonna give you the $1,000 you want. Yes, take it for my duck cleaning. Clean my ducks. Quack quack." Like, are they actually this big of suckers, Noah?
I'm sure they are. I mean, are they really willing to forget the last 10 years?
Yeah.
And to think that Mark Carney,
memory erase wand.
radical, not just a radical banker, not just a China supporter, not just a pipeline supporter, not just a green tech supporter, but a very big plagiarizer too. Last I checked, liberals don't necessarily stand for all of that.
Yeah.
I just do not see why they're going to forget about the last 10 years because of Orange Man Bad.
Yeah.
Stephen Harper
That's all he's running on.
It's Trump may be a threat to our sovereignty, but he didn't raise the cost of living. Trump didn't put crime on the streets. Trump didn't. What else? Trump, you know.
Trump didn't crash our economy and cause wages in this country to go down dramatically and our standard of living to go down. I remember in 2015, when Stephen Harper lost his election, I remember how good life was. I remember how affordable things were. How I thought, oh, maybe when I grew up, because I was probably in like grade 6 or 7, I think. I forgot. I thought, oh, maybe I'd be able to afford a house. Now, no fucking way I'll ever be able to afford a house. Unless, as Pierre is planning, to build as many houses as possible, remove the red tape, remove the regulations, axe the taxes, build the home, stop the crime, bring them home.
Absolutely. And if you look at the math, right now it would take about 30 years just to save up for a down payment. I don't know how young Canadians on the left are looking at housing prices and looking at the state of their country, and they're saying, let's keep this. This is great. We don't afford it because they might trample over our social rights.
Exactly, because they're evil Trump MAGA conservatives. That's what their cult leaders.
And more unaffordable because they'll just have something to complain about every single day. And again, Donald Trump didn't bring any of the cost of living onto us. He didn't dump millions of immigrants at our front door. He wasn't even here in power half the time over the last 10 years. We just had him from like 2016 to 2020 and just recently. Other than that, it's been Obama and Biden. He can't even.
Yeah, and 10 years of Trudeau and Gumby.
Yeah, and it's only going to be worse when Gumby gets in.
And the reason why they're able to wave that magic erase wand is because they like Carney's idea of building Quonset huts instead of homes that people will actually own. Because Carney likes when it's big government solutions to solve the problem of housing. Because as the World Economic Forum believes, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy with it. That's what Carney wants. We'll own nothing in his Canada. In Pierre's Canada, we'll be able to own our own homes, buy our own groceries for an affordable rate, buy our own cars, goods, services. We'll be living in a happy life.
Absolutely. And under
Ugh.
brutalist apartment architecture,
Commie blocks.
barely affordable groceries, 15-minute cities. I don't even get the idea of that.
Yeah.
That's just oppression in a nutshell, and enough, and getting on the market just to have a kid, and and all in an effort to, as the Eurasia Group and some of these weak people put it, to try and drastically reduce the population. Those are all policies that would even make Thanos wince.
Exactly, and also the Century Initiative. We're wanting to make Canada's population 100 million by 2100.
Oh, yeah,
I understand we have the land, but how are you going to house all those people? How are those people going to have jobs? You're not just going to put them all in commie blocks, because people want to actually own their own homes. We should build all the apartments and the condos and homes. Don't build single family homes, because those are a bad idea. That's how you bad urban planning. Build mixed use neighborhoods. We need to build as many of these neighborhoods as possible, and build actual good public transit. We build way too many roads and highways. This is where I'm kind of left wing, where I want us to build as many public transit solutions as possible, because people should be commuting absolutely on public transit. I don't own a car. I ride my bike or use public transit. I own an electric bike because I don't want to clog up the roads. I care about the climate, but I care more about, I don't want to clog up the roads with another car to crash on the roads, to make everyone's life worse. Why should we drive? Ride a bike, use public transit, save money. I have saved so much money riding a bike. I know I'm talking about myself. Do you have any thoughts on this, Noah? How do you tend to commute?
I'm of the same opinion. Like, I either walk or I take public transit, and I think there does need to be more public transit options. Like, I have a friend who lives out in the west end of Ottawa, and it takes her just 30 minutes just to get to the nearest train stop to get in to campus, and they're extending it right now. They're extending the O train out there right now. However, there needs to be more options like this, and it needs to be accessible to everybody. So instead of having to go 30 minutes on a bus to get to a train stop, you only need to walk 15, 20 minutes to get to one.
And we shouldn't just have one company, which is Metrolinx, building all the public transit. We should have multiple of these public transit infrastructure building companies. It shouldn't just be Metrolinx, because Metrolinx has an absolute monopoly. That's how they're able to screw us over with the Eglinton LRT, with the Finch LRT, and the Bloor extension. That's how they're able to screw us over in Toronto and in Ottawa too, with the O-line expansion.
They don't have OC Transpo yet.
Say again?
They don't have OC Transpo yet. Ford's working on it, but not yet. At least I don't think.
Exactly, and they're absolutely screwing us over with the price. These prices are way too high. They're able to do so much more in all the Europe. And I'm going to sound like Carney. In all the European countries with public transit. Look at it in the Netherlands. They're able to build public transit so much cheaper. But in Canada, it costs billions and billions of dollars to build the Eglinton LRT. It literally started in 2010 when that was built. And what year is it now? 15 years later. I was how old then? 6 or 7? And I'm 21 now. Yes, I'm telling you my age. But let's get back to the election talk. The continued failure of the NDP and clown Jagrat Singh. Yeah, let's dunk on him. You go first.
Yeah, as I said, debate, that's going to be his last chance to get any support back and to save his party. Otherwise, they're heading for total electoral collapse. It's gonna be like the meme of Squidward using the slide whistle in the oil tanker as it's going off the cliff. That's gonna be Jagmeet Singh driving his party off of the cliff, and we've seen it already. In September, he had the chance when he tore up that supply deal to vote non-confidence. And
we're tearing up the deal.
And he would have had opposition status, and we'd have a conservative supermajority. But no, his pension's more important. He's got to wait till February to have his pension. So we have Justin Trudeau stepping down, proroguing Parliament. I still hate that decision.
Exactly. And it should be legal to prorogue Parliament. That's the other thing. I hope when Pierre gets in that that we make a lot of constitutional changes to remove the ability to shut down Parliament, because the Prime Minister has way too much power. I've talked about it so many times, how the executive branch should have a whole lot less power. We should have a much more similar system to what the U.S. has, in my opinion, because I like how
Senate election.
Exactly, that too. That's one of the things I've advocated for the longest time. We need to reform the makeup of our Senate and the House too. Because it's ridiculous how the eastern provinces have so many seats comparatively to their populations. PEI has about 150,000 people, but they have, last time I checked, they have 4 or 5 members of parliament. Does that make any sense when in Ontario and Alberta there is over 100,000 people per one member of parliament?
It's just stupid. And
exactly.
I think you need to reconsider the role of the Governor General.
We shouldn't have a Governor General. Because in my opinion, we shouldn't be a monarchy. I'm an anti-monarchist, guys. If you aren't, that's totally fine. But I do not like the monarchy. I think we should be a republic, the Republic of Canada. I don't like the idea of looking up to a king or queen. I think that we're a democracy. We aren't a monarchy, and we should have an independent elected executive branch along with 2 independent legislative branches, a House and a Senate, and we should have our judicial branch. The appointments actually go through a confirmation process in the upper chamber, an elected one.
And anybody in the Senate has to be elected by the people, and prorogation has to be a parliament vote.
Exactly.
Yes, we've seen.
Yeah, all we're doing with this archaic system is making it more likely that a lot of our provinces will want secession. Alberta and Quebec are already looking at coming together on secession alliance meetings or something like that. I heard in the news recently that Legault and Danielle Smith want to get together to talk about coming together to leave the country. Yeah,
I'm in favor of that. Have the referendum, have the talks, especially if the Liberals get back in, and have the vote. Like, I'm totally not opposed to having the vote.
And I think that we don't even need to let Quebec vote. They can leave. They can go fuck right off. Excuse my language. But Quebec should be allowed to leave because they are ruining our country, in my opinion. They're the ones holding us back. Because why should we have two official languages? Who the fuck in all of the other 14 and all the other 12 provinces and territories actually speaks French? I guarantee in total, if you add it all up, it's under 1 million. When there's over 30 million people in the other provinces in total, I believe. I think it's about 41 million total between all of them, and I think Quebec's about 9 mil, I believe. Might be getting my numbers wrong.
Absolutely. I think if you're going to have the conversation about secession, have it. I don't think the government should step in the way, and I think that Carney is absolutely wrong to be
You mean Gumby?
demonizing Gumby. He's wrong for demonizing Danielle Smith about these intentions. He's it's awful what he's been saying about her.
Exactly, and I think that it goes with a broader narrative. We need to stop demonizing female leaders in politics, especially female conservatives. I I recently I posted on my business account because I gave a birthday gift to my MP, Deputy Leader Lanceman, and I had someone comment on the post the repost of that my father made on his account. Some left wing sexist commented that Lanceman is a Russian asset and a bunch of other hate. Why are we hating on these on our female politicians? We should have more conservative women, more women in general, and I think we should stop demonizing them. People like Carney and all these misogynistic leaders like him need to stop being like that. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely. It should go both ways, honestly. The left cries about feminism, but when the right says that there's worries about misogyny and men and women's sports,
Exactly.
the left is, they're either quiet about it or they'll defend men and women's sports, say, oh, if they identify as a woman, they should be allowed to be in women's sports. Bullshit.
Exactly.
Language, but I don't know if you saw this clip. John Oliver.
Yeah, I was just about to bring it up.
I used to find that guy funny. I don't anymore. Like he defended men in women's sports. It's women's sports. If there's men in women's sports, then those men have mental problems. They need to go see
Exactly.
a mental health counselor.
Exactly. Gender dysphoria, literally in the DSM-5, is a mental disorder, and you should be treated in a mental facility for it. Why are we aiding people with mental disabilities by giving them cross-sex hormones that will ruin their lives, and puberty blockers which will ruin their lives, and especially to children?
Absolutely.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And I heard that on that John Oliver issue, that the reason why he posted that and was so gung ho about it is because a member of his staff, one of his executive producers, is a trans woman. I heard on a podcast today this. I heard that's why he was so gung ho about it, and I think that if you have that much of a conflict of interest in something, you shouldn't be getting your the talent on your show to be an activist for you. I think it's ridiculous, and I've never liked John Oliver, but it doesn't even matter. John Oliver's a stupid British person. Go back to your homeland and go say pip pip cheerio with the king. Go bye bye, buddy. Let's get into some more election talk. What do you think are going to be the big regions that can make or break this election? Do you think it will be Quebec? Do you think it will be the suburban GTA? Will it be the BC mainland, upper mainland?
I think it is going to be Quebec and the GTA. Those are the big ones. And I think if the Bloc can push the fact that Carney isn't a French speaker and all of our prime ministers have been able to speak French, and if Poilievre does that too, then we're going to see the Quebec votes go to those two parties. And Toronto, there is a lot of liberal ridings that I've seen, as much as I don't believe the polls, I've seen some Toronto ridings that are starting to go into the toss-up category, like York Center with Roman Baber. Yara Sachs used to be up 10% in that riding. It's now 3 to 5% gap between her and Roman Baber for the lead. So a lot of these ridings are starting to get into the toss-up category.
Exactly, and also with your friend Karen Stintz. Her riding's looking pretty close to. She's a really strong female candidate. And what are do you think she has a chance of winning? Because I know it's a very competitive district.
I think she has a really good shot of winning. And yes, you could say Vince Casparo is going to be strong with the Italian vote and maybe the Jewish vote too, because he is an outspoken supporter of Israel. But I'll get into this more a little later. But I think if we're going to be voting on anti-Semitism in the riding, Karen Stintz is the favorite to take the seat. And you look at Mount Royal too with House Father against Oberman. As much as I used
Trudeau's token Jew.
Yeah, as much as I used to think that House Father was good for the Canadian Jewish community, especially after he voted with Mendocino against the NDP's motion, they both had the chance to jump and cross the alley, and they blew it. Now they're stuck with this guy. You hear what he said yesterday? You hear what Carney said in Calgary?
Yeah.
There was this guy that said there's the genocide of Gaza, and Carney said, I know, and that's why we have an arms embargo. Like, why? And Karen Stintz spoke out about it too. Like, I don't get why anybody in the Jewish community, and I'm not going to harp on people. I'm just saying.
No, but please harp on them. It's a whole bunch of boomer Jews who don't actually care about the community. That's what they're doing. We should harp on them.
Why are we voting for liberal candidates on the left that are advocating for money to go to organizations that
fund Hamas,
attacking Israel and attacking Jews? And why are we supporting these candidates? Like, you look at Neil Oberman, who is the conservative candidate in Mount Royal. He's a lawyer. He slammed Concordia for their anti-Semitism. Like, if you want someone who's going to defend the Jewish community, that sort of candidate is exactly the person who you need to be voting for in this election. You look at Neil Oberman, Karen Stintz,
great guy,
in these heavy Jewish ridings. Those are the candidates that we need to be putting in these Jewish heavy ridings into Parliament.
Exactly. I think Anthony Housefather is especially an amazing example. Someone who needs to be removed immediately. I thought at one point he was good, but he really, really frustrated me when I saw he endorsed Carney. He's literally the liberal token Jew. He was first Trudeau's token Jew. Yes, I'm the anti-Semitism czar for the Trudeau government. I am Trudeau's anti-Semitism advisor. Yeah, you're his advisor for creating more. Yeah,
that's it. He said it himself. He's a centrist, and he had the chance to go to the Conservatives, and he blew it.
He absolutely. Yeah.
I think he's out of government now. I think
he is, and I was talking to someone who actually worked for Mendocino, and how I don't understand how members of our Jewish community are able to vote to be helping these liberals and are proud of helping these liberals who are ruining our country, destroying our community. I think that if Carney wins, we might have to leave. Because I remember the chief rabbi in France, he said France is no longer safe for Jews, and that French Jews should go make Aliyah. And I think that we might have to do the same thing. I've been thinking about making Aliyah even more and more if Carney wins. In the comments below, my fellow Jews, write it if you agree with me on that.
I agree too, and I've actually been looking into it, and my thinking is if Carney wins and this sort of stuff starts getting pushed for House votes, if once I graduate, I'm going to take the opportunity and make Aliyah and move to Israel. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I've been thinking about a couple of programs. I'm going to talk about it in the future, but I shouldn't talk about it right now because it's still in the works, and I want to keep it a surprise for the viewers. But there's some big things coming in this area of discussion.
Let's keep our ears out.
Yeah, keep your ears out because in the next couple months you'll hear something real big from me. Um, do you have any last thoughts about the election before we move to the sports segment?
Get out and vote.
Get out there and vote, everyone. Get your shoes on. Bring your Vic cards, your IDs, your water bottles, your snacks, whatever you need to go vote. All your medications and whatever.
And,
bring your walker.
And if you're bring somebody.
Yeah,
like
carpool to vote.
Bring a friend.
Yeah.
I've talked to people who volunteer in ridings like Nepean and University Rosedale. If you have relatives who want to vote but are too far,
or they're disabled, or or if someone doesn't know that there's an election, like there's people who they're sports fans. I was telling a lot of conservative candidates recently, try to get your message out to sports fans because those are the big what's the word for it? People who don't vote a lot. There's a word that the Americans use. But we need to get out to those voters who who aren't politically engaged. We need as many voters as possible. And the youth, they're so against the government right now, but they don't know there's an election. Most of them, they're ill-informed, or they're just gonna default vote liberal because they're the centrist party. We're the centrist party. That's what they claim when their agenda is really as far left or even more far left than the NDP.
Absolutely, and look what Pierre did at Four Nations. He sat with the people in the 300s, took photos. No need for security. Carney's got the RCMP parading him around. He might even have Connor McDavid parading him around at this point, but I don't know about that because Mark Carney clearly cannot score or wear the correct skates on the ice.
Yeah, he'll end up just falling. Gumby will just fall down when he skates. Bloop! I'm just gonna fall down when I'm skating. I have no... Oh, what are these things on the bottom of... Is that a knife? Security is a knife on the bottom of my shoe! That's how little he knows about hockey. I swear that photo of him as a goalie in Northwest Territories was so fake. I swear. It must have been photoshopped. Because I don't believe he's ever probably been to Canada. Probably his first time.
You could put Mark Carney in goalie for the Edmonton Oilers, and he would still let more goals in than Stuart Skinner. That's, I'm sure, how bad of a goalie, and as bad as a prime minister he'll be letting in all the goals.
Yeah, and he'll let all the money out of Canada with all the taxes he's gonna raise.
Yeah, just like how he's gonna be dicking the puck out of the net.
Yeah. Should we get to the sports segment?
Speaking of,
so currently the Blue Jays are 7-5, and they are in first place in the AL East, the usually toughest division in baseball. But right now it's kind of looking kind of weak. Would you define the AL East as weak or strong right now?
Right now it looks as weak as Rafael Devers is hitting.
Yeah.
The last time I checked, 0 for 19.
Wimp muscles.
With that kind of money, I kind of expected a little more.
Yeah.
I think even being in first at this stage, that's a win. And now they got Vlad signed. And again,
we'll get into the Vladdy part. You can hold on that now. But my opinion on the AL East, I think that it's very early in the season. I think that it's definitely early to crown us the kings of the AL East, but I think we can definitely celebrate too. Roll out the red carpet, guys. Bring out the parade. First time since '93. Roll them down Young Street, baby. Let's celebrate. Woohoo! Tequila.
But I mean, yeah, 7-5. Like I said last time I was on, like if they're above 500 2 weeks in or 20 games in, then that's a win. Sure, it's 12 games in, but the trajectory they're on, like the few games I've watched, if the hitting's there, they win. Like in the National Series, they hit a lot and they won those games big. That's going to be the story for them this year. If they can hit, they can win.
Exactly, because our starting pitching is really, really, really good. The bullpen though is very shaky. I don't trust Jacob Barnes or any of the other bums. I love our starting pitching. I think we have an amazing rotation. I think that Easton Lucas has been amazing, and I'm excited to see Jake Bloss. I hear that Max Scherzer might have to be back for a while, but Spencer Turnbull might be signing with the Jays soon as a free agent. I'm very excited about this team, and let's get into the Vladdy extension talk. It's something that's been in the works for, I don't know, maybe about ever since they signed him in 2015. When Trudeau became prime minister, people have been talking forever about the extension. First started at 10 mil, 100 mil. Now went to 200, 300, 400, 600. Now 500. 500 mil for 14 years, 35.4 AAV. What are your thoughts?
I think for the team, it's a huge win, and I think I said earlier that this is a do or die year. I'm actually gonna push that off for like 2 or 3 years. I want to see if Vladdy does deliver on his extension. If 2 or 3 years in, it's not looking good, Jays aren't contending, then maybe we can rethink about that. But I think with Vladdy signed, with the big team leader signed, I feel like we can focus next 2 or 3 years on contending, winning playoff games, potentially going on a run. That's what we can focus on the next 3 years now that we have our guy locked down.
Exactly. I think now we can focus on contending, and I think that although it seemed very impossible, I think that Bo might be signing. I heard that he wants to play with Vlad. I've heard for a while he wants to play with Vladdy for his whole career and win championships. That might just be to push the Blue Jays, but I think it's very, very possible he signs, especially because after last season his value is really, really low, even though he's playing well right now. Maybe they can sign him to like a 10-year extension for like 250 mil. Maybe.
Yeah, I'd say sign him before his value goes up.
Exactly. I think if he wants to sign, they should sign him right now, immediately, because he's going to start playing really well, and hopefully he doesn't say, "Oh, I'm going to bet on myself and go to free agency." I love Bo. He's probably my second favorite player on the team. I really hope he signs, and although people say, "Oh, he's a terrible defender, a terrible shortstop," and I get it. Andres Jimenez is a much better defender, but who else is that good of a leadoff hitter? Has such an amazing aggressive approach.
Nobody. And I will say though, Andres Jimenez is off to a great start.
Exactly.
And Springer too. Like
yeah.
The hitting is off to a great start,
and
starting to get into rhythm too. And yeah, they need to lock him up soon.
Exactly, and all the credit for our hitting, I give all the credit to David Popkins, the new hitting coach. Popkins, and throughout the other hitting coaches, a couple other assistants that they all talk about. But Springer and a bunch of the other improved hitters like Jimenez too, they're all talking about how David Popkins is like a hero, and it was how he saved them. It's so much better than Guillermo Martinez, who I remember when he was the hitting coach. I would scream for that dude to be fired because our hitting's so terrible. And I also blame, unfortunately, I hate having to do this, Don Mattingly. Because it was his idea to have the approach of, oh, just have backside singles. We're going to succeed with just hitting backside singles and some doubles. No home runs. We don't need them. We're just going to go oppo every time. We're just going to beat the defense. Yeah, what we need to do is go with the David Popkins approach of fucking destroying the other team.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was at I think it was game 2 of that series. Was it the Brios game? I think it was Brios.
Yeah, it was the Brios game.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. Life's been a blur recently. Feels. Um, yeah, I do have one concern. Even though I know this guy comes off to a cold start every single year, Anthony Santander. What are your thoughts on the guy?
I think it's early. Let's see what happens later down the season and reevaluate if he's still struggling. But he looked good in Baltimore. I think he'll come around.
Yeah, he had a 40 home run season last year. I think he will come around, but it's definitely concerning with how slow of a start he's had. I really hope that he lives up to his salary, even though it's only 17 mil compared to the 35 mil AAV that Vladdy's getting. It's definitely concerning having your 3-hole hitter being probably one of the least productive hitters on the team with the amount of strikeouts he gets. I wish he was hitting better, but I'll give him until this summer until he has to prove himself. And another really underwhelming player is Davis Schneider, a guy who I love. I love Davis, Babe Schneider, Babe Ruth. I remember his debut in Fenway. Great player, but dude has really, really been struggling. He actually got so desperate that he started using torpedo bats. I don't think the torpedo bat helped. And the torpedo bats, they are legal. I don't think we have to debate that because the torpedo bats, they do have disadvantages, but they do have their advantages too. They're only good if they're actually sized up properly, which is why when I saw the Bat Bros talking about it, it didn't help them at all because it wasn't actually for them. It has to be like perfectly fit for you. So what are your thoughts about Davis? I should stop going on that rant.
He used to be good. It was like 2 or 3 years ago. He hit home runs in back-to-back games, and that's the Davis Schneider we need to start seeing. And the same goes for Santander. That either they're going to get into it, or as the team gets better and better hitting, they'll be stuck in the dust.
Exactly, and Davis's problem is that he can't hit pitches upstairs. What pitchers do is they first lower his eye level by throwing one down, and then on strike 3, what they do, they go upstairs, and Davis will swing and miss. He'll swing straight down, and the ball will go right up, right above his bat. Every single time, because he can't adjust. In the major leagues, you have to be able to adjust. It's a copycat league, just like the NFL. You have to be able to make those slight adjustments. And someone who's definitely made some adjustments is Tyler Heineman, the Blue Jays' backup catcher. He only plays once every 5 days in place of Kirk to have a day off to rest his legs. But he's been on a really big hitting streak. He's had back-to-back games now where he's had 2 or 3 hits. I think his batting average is probably over 500. What are your thoughts on him? Do you think he should get more playing time?
I think he should.
Yeah,
He's good. Just give him the time.
I was pleasantly surprised with him. I did not expect Tyler Heineman to be this good. I thought, he's just gonna be a backup catcher. He was never that good. He's hit a home run. Dude's hit a home run. He's one of 3 players on the team to hit home runs, I believe. So I think they should give him more playing time. Maybe instead of once every 5 days, 2 times every 5 days. Let him catch another one of the pitchers. Maybe Bowden Francis. Another guy he's probably thrown to caught quite a bit. I think that the sky's the limit for him. He could get even better. Even though he's getting up there in age, he's almost 30. And speaking of star players, are there any Blue Jays who you think are going to be on the All-Star team this year? Let's make our All-Star selections our way too early picks.
I'm taking from the Blue Jays, Jimenez, and maybe Springer if he can keep this up. they're both up to hot starts, very undervalued picks, and I think they're both gonna get there.
So I'm going to be a realist right now, and I'm going to say that the All-Star picks. I know it's a fan vote. You got to remember that the fans from all across North America and the world too, because it's Japanese fans, are voting. So I think that the All-Star selections are obviously going to be Vladdy, Bo, and I I want to say Jimenez because he's playing well, but do fans across the world actually know who Andres Jimenez is? No. Well, unless they look at Gold Gloves, but I'm just gonna say Vladdy and Bo because I know that fans are typically stupid when they vote for All Stars.
I mean, it is a popularity contest.
Exactly, and one of the things that I wish the MLB could change is make the All Star pitchers make that a fan vote instead of just nominated by the players and coaches. Make it a fan vote because I wish we could have more Blue Jays pitchers in the All Star game, so we can have Bowden Francis throw a hitless inning in the All Star game potentially, or Jose Brios. Because we have so many good pitchers on this team, except for the mid relievers of the bullpen. Ugh. I don't even want to think about it. I don't want to think about Jacob Barnes anymore.
Or Romano, he's off to an awful start in Philadelphia.
Oh, he is? Good for him. Not. Yeah, he's injury prone. He's Canadian, but I don't care for him anymore. He was shit. I'm very happy with our closer Jeff Hoffman. He's pitching really well. I think Schneider is using him a little bit crazily. I think that we should only be using our closer in save situations so we don't waste him like we did Romano. But I think our team's looking really good. Let's do some NHL talk. How are you feeling about the playoffs this year?
I think we're in for some pretty good playoffs. I mean, as of right now, it looks like it's going to be the Battle of Florida in round one, the Battle of Ontario between Toronto and Ottawa. Kudos to Ottawa for finally getting into the playoffs after, 8 years? So,
exactly.
For them. And Montreal's about to lock down a spot. They're probably going to end up taking on Washington, but at the rate they're going, they might sneak into the first wild card and take on Toronto or Tampa Bay. That will be interesting. Then out west, Winnipeg is on track to take the first seed, and Edmonton is on track to play LA again. And Calgary might sneak in. I personally want Calgary to sneak in.
I hope the best for all the Canadian teams, and I see a lot of my fellow Leafs fans. I'm technically a Leaf fan, but I try to not watch games that I want the depression, because I call being Leafs fans being a Leaf fan a mental illness because it is, because that's how you get depression right there. Exactly. I enjoy watching him from time to time. I think being a Leaf fan should literally come with a warning before you become a fan, saying, if you are a fan of this team, you will be suffering with anxiety and depression for a very long time.
Especially if you're on Hinge and you see a profile saying
Leafs forever.
Yeah, Leafs forever. That should come with like an AI label saying, warning, this person may be suffering from a mental illness.
Yeah, it's called being a Leafs fan.
And look at the Florida Panthers right now. They're trying to tank into that wild card spot so that they can play Toronto in the first rounds.
Exactly.
But Toronto, meanwhile, is on track to win their division, and if they do that, they would play either Ottawa or Montreal, depending on who the first wild.
Ottawa, congratulations! You have just made the second round of the playoffs. Congratulations to you, because if you play the Leafs, you automatically make it in the second round. Because, as I say to my father every year, I don't have to watch any Leafs games because I know what's going to happen every year. You're going to make the playoffs. There's going to be so much optimism. Copium. I'm so happy. We did so well regular season. But in the playoffs, fell off a cliff. We're dead. Next year's the year. Next year, we're going to win a Stanley Cup. First time since 67. I'll tell you this, Leafs fans. There's no chance.
We'll be
Fall off the bandwagon.
Post-mortem, and they still probably wouldn't have won. It'll be like robot Austin Matthews.
Exactly.
Robot McGardner.
Yeah. Robot Nylander.
Yeah.
And robot Morgan Riley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Robo defenseman Riley passes the puck to Robot Matthews, and Matthews scores. Robot Matthews scores. I'm really on with the jokes.
To the opposing team and they score.
Exactly. Empty net goal. On the Robo net.
Yeah, I think this is a do or die year for the Leafs. If they don't make it out of the first round this year, and you could say they made it out of the first round 2 years ago, but that was against a tired Tampa Bay team and them getting eviscerated by Florida in round 2, and it basically nullified that first round victory. So really, if they don't get out of the first round this year, they gotta look at the core, because it's not a coaching problem anymore.
Well, I don't think it's ever gonna be a do or die year, because I think that there's no consequences to the Leafs doing bad. I think that that the fans are always gonna buy tickets because the Leafs Nation is an absolute cult. Yes, I'm admitting it here. I think we should all admit it. Being a Leafs fan, as we said, comes with a warning label. You will develop a mental illness called Leafs fan derangement syndrome. It's like Trump derangement syndrome, guys.
That is why I prefer Montreal over Toronto.
I thought you were going to say Ottawa. Because if you said Ottawa, I would actually empathize towards you.
I mean, I like them too, considering I actually go to university in Ottawa. But at least Montreal, you can see the hype, and there's actually a good team around them. Whereas you see Toronto, and there's the hype around them, and there's a bunch of suits waiting to go golfing after their
first round
beat down in Game 7.
Yeah, and at least this time it won't be Boston. Leafs fans, congratulations! You're not going to lose to the Bruins in the playoffs! That's a win right there for you guys. Keep drinking the Kool-Aid.
At least this year you'll have the pleasure of losing to Florida or Ottawa or even Montreal. That would be funny, losing to Montreal again.
Yeah. Oh, my dad would be crying. Yeah. Just like they did to all those times against Boston.
Yeah. But I tell you, that if the Habs can lock down that playoff spot, they're going... That the Bell Center is going to be loud. Let me tell you
that. Let's talk about the Battle of Alberta in the playoffs. Who do you think has a better chance of going far in the playoffs? Edmonton or Calgary?
I mean, Calgary still has to get the spot. They're 4 points back of Minnesota for the final wild card, and at the rate they're going, then their game on, I think it's 4 or 6 points back. Either way, they play each other on Friday, and that's going to be a big one for the last wild card spot at this rate. However, honestly, I really do not see Edmonton going far, because they have LA in the first round, and sure, it's LA, but this LA team, from what I've seen, looks a lot better than the LA team from last year, and I think LA, if LA doesn't beat them, I think Edmonton is going to go down in the second round because they're either going to have to play a red-hot St. Louis team or they're going to have to play a really good Vegas team. And I don't see Edmonton getting past either. I
Yeah.
think one of those teams is going to send Edmonton home crying and with Mark Carney looking for therapy because his team has failed to win a Stanley Cup once
And
again.
refusing them their pipelines.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He'll say one. Sorry, but going back to politics. I'm about to say this. He'll say, "Oh, we're going to build the energy east to the Albertans," but he'll go to the Quebecers and say, "You have absolute veto over pipelines. We will never build a pipeline without consulting Quebec, because Quebec is our number one constituent. They are most important. That's why they should leave." But back to the hockey thing.
Yeah.
Which out of the I believe it's 5 Canadian teams that have chances this year. Who do you think's the best?
Um, well, that's actually a good question. Winnipeg is, they're going to have the advantage of home ice, despite not having the best team in their division. Over, I think the benefit of them playing one of Minnesota, if they play St. Louis, they're going down. But if they have the chance to play Minnesota or Calgary, I think that's going to be a good confidence booster for them heading into a potential second round matchup against Colorado or Dallas. So I think Winnipeg's got a good chance, but in the West, Winnipeg I think is going to go deep, and in the East, call me crazy, but I think Montreal's going to go the deepest because Ottawa, you could say Ottawa's going to go deep, but this is their first time in the playoffs with this core, and sure Linus Ullmark, who has been great in net for Ottawa, he'll probably steal them 2 or 3 games, but if it's Tampa or Florida they end up playing, then I cannot see them going quite far in the playoffs. And Montreal still has the core intact from their run 3 years ago, and if they play Toronto or Washington in the first round, I think we're going to see that experience shine, and they could easily win the series in 6 or 7. So I think Winnipeg and Montreal are the 2 teams that are going to go the deepest in Canada.
Yeah, I think that you definitely have a really good point about Winnipeg, because they're first place in their division. I'm not so sure about Montreal because they're not doing too well in their division. But you never know. The playoffs are absolutely unpredictable. I think every team that's going to be in the playoffs has a really good chance of going far, except for the Leafs. I think that they're cursed. I think Steve Dangle has already probably cursed them. Him and the curse of Ballard have definitely done their thing, and I think that Oiler Nation has probably cursed their team too. But you never know. A Canadian team could win. I kind of hope that they don't, because then that might help Kearney do well in the polls if they go far. Because Team Canada approach. Captain Canada Doug Ford. Yeah, Captain Donuts.
At least if it's a Canadian team, let's hope it's not Edmonton helping Carney's polls. Let's just hope it's Montreal or even Calgary. Pierre's from Calgary. This election, it's the Battle of Alberta, literally.
Yeah, literally. Pierre's a Calgary guy.
I like Calgary more than Edmonton.
Yeah, because in Edmonton there's more NDP voters, so socialists, commies. Yeah.
I'm just hoping Calgary gets in just so they can eventually meet up with Edmonton, and then Carney has to go to therapy because Calgary beats Edmonton in 5.
I'm sad that Vancouver's not in the playoffs, because then we can't see crack pipes and heroin needles and safe supply on the ice.
I think we'll be seeing that either way.
Yeah, we'll probably see that at the Scotiabank Center. with their safe supply painkillers. And speaking of that, if you guys haven't seen this documentary from Aaron Gunn about the fentanyl crisis, I saw it recently. Really good documentary about the largest scandal in Canada, the fentanyl crisis. I recommend everyone go out and watch it. I don't know if you've seen it, Noah, but I find he's a really good documentarian. And he's actually running for the Conservatives in one of the Vancouver districts ridings. I think that the Vancouverites definitely have to vote this election, because this election really matters for the health and safety of Vancouver. Because I've seen pictures and videos of Vancouver. I've never been there, but Vancouver is dying because of the stupid Carney Trudeau liberal policies that have destroyed all of our cities, like Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa.
Absolutely. Beautiful cities across the country falling prey to homeless encampments, crazy pro-Palestinians, and drugs.
Exactly. And I think that's probably a good point to end off on, unless you have anything else to say. But thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to get out there and vote on April 28th and in the advanced polls. Make sure to vote. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to write in the comments all your suggestions for future content. Have a great day, everyone.